Derby County were cast very much in a supporting role when they first appeared on Match of the Day in 1965. The Rams were mid-table in the second division, and players like Colin Bolton, Ron Webster and Alan Durbin were still developing. Their opponents that day, Northampton Town, were on their way up to Division 1.
Robson just keeping the ball in play. Young getting it clear, but Leck onto it. To Rawdon, he's onside. And there's the first one of the game. Martin it is, the scorer. Martin, number 8. Bowers with the corner. Oh. And that's the equaliser. Durban, number 10, there he is, the inside left of Derby County that has levelled the score now in the second half. Walden up to Brown, to Hall. Oh, and a magnificent goal by Brown. Brown, the young former amateur international centre-forward, there he is, number 9. Northampton leading by 2-1. As it comes down to Buxton. Buxton on there to Durban. Oh, and it's the... My goodness me, what a break there. That's Durban that has scored both goals now for Derby.
Alan Durbin was one of only 2 survivors from this team to play in Derby's promotion side 4 years later. By now, a whirlwind called Brian Clough had blown into the baseball ground and launched the greatest days in Derby's history.
Corner kick. And welcome once again to Roy McFarlane. Here's number 5. And it's a goal. And the Blackpool defence standing still. It's number 9 O'Hare who's got it. Oh, McFarlane, a fine goal. What beautiful football.
We start, of course, with the national match of the day. The first division game, which really did turn out, apparently, to be the match of the day. That's between Derby County, 3rd in the first division, against Everton, the league leaders this morning. And joining us to watch the match with you is Brian Clough, the Derby manager, in our Midland studio. Commentator Ken Woolstenholme.
And a tremendous roar greets Dave Mackay and his men of Derby County as they come out for their biggest test in the first division. A game against Everton, the unbeaten league leaders. A big crowd in the shirt sleeves on this lovely afternoon to see Derby County, with a great start, unbeaten in 7 games, take on Everton, unbeaten also in 7 games. And Derby County, with this tremendous start in the first division, have their full team out. They'll be playing 4-3-3 with Durbin, McGovern and Carlin operating in midfield. Dave Mackay, who's done so much to transform Derby County from an ordinary side to a great side. Durbin, the Welsh international, with the throw. Hector, back to Webster. Oh, it's a great shot, and what a save. Willie Carlin hit that one on the volley. Carlin and McGovern running into space, but he's covered now. Now he's found space again. Carlin. Unbelievable header by O'Hare. McFarland has gone right onto the goal line now. Big number 5. So 7 minutes before half-time, John O'Hare has scored. And to push the young supporters back first before we can have this corner. Oh, what an 20 minutes left, and Everton, the league leaders, unbeaten. Dropped 1 point this season, struggling 2 goals down. Ball to Kendall, a great goal! Tremendous goal by Howard Kendall. Hinton to take the free kick. And a great save. The corners kept it hit behind the goal. And it was number 10, Hector, who headed it. Gordon West must have been shattered when he saw that human thunderbolt, Kevin Hector, coming at him. It's a great save. Evans, and a whistle! They have beat Everton. Everton's first defeat of the season. 2 goals to 1. There's number 9, John O'Hare, scored the first goal. So 2 goals to 1, a tremendous performance, a tremendous match.
Well, enjoying the match again in our Midland studios, Brian Clough, the young manager of Derby County. Now, Brian, of course, when you were in the 2nd Division last year, you did say to the board, when it looked like promotion for Derby County, I want another £200,000 for players if I'm going to survive in the 1st Division. Do you still think you will need that kind of money?
Oh, I probably meant 200,000 for incentives, David. The way these players are performing at the moment, they're not allowing anybody, me in particular, to bring any fresh player into the side, and they're earning every single penny they're getting. And as I say, it probably meant 200,000 incentive for them.
You feel like that about them at the moment, no doubt.
Very much so, yes. They couldn't have given me any more or given the club any more than they have so far this season. They've sweated blood for Derby County, and they deserve everything they're getting.
Now, you did say that at the start of the season that you were not interested so much in entertaining crowds as providing a successful side. And if that meant defensive football, you'd do that. Having seen a bit of the 1st Division now, what do you feel about it?
Well, this is perfectly true. We were looking to consolidate in 1st Division, obviously, but we're aiming for the best all the time, and if it meant us entertaining as well and we were capable of doing it, then we would do it. And as the season's gone, of course, it's meant that we've got a little bit of confidence with these 1 or 2 points we've got, and as you saw this afternoon, we've started to entertain as well.
It was intoxicating stuff. By the time Sunderland came, the baseball ground was a graveyard for 1st Division giants. Spurs, Liverpool and Manchester United had all been well beaten.
Into with the cross. On to the Durban. Durban back to McGovern. McGovern with a shot. Durban. And then Durban the scorer. Hector on the far side of the box. Come to Durban. Durban missed with a volley. McGovern. And it's going to go in! That was bad luck indeed. The ball spun away from John McGovern, and then Eschers has the indignity of seeing a slow pass back, dribbling over the line to make the score 2 goals to 0 for Derby County. Back to Robson. O'Hare and Hector in there. This is Robson going through. Robson with a chance. Come through to Durban. Durban scored.
Results like that meant Derby were being talked about as championship contenders only months after leaving the 2nd Division. Crowds were topping a record 40,000, although Derby were not quite invincible.
For a goal! Good goal scored by Ian Moore, 27 minutes gone. Moore back to Paul for Forrest. Reese. Moore. English Lions, it's 2-0.
Derby finished 4th in their first year up, and the following season started on the ground of FA Cup winners Chelsea. The O'Hare-Hector combination still dangerous.
Hector. And O'Hare opens the scoring
Chelsea caught with only 2 men at the back, and the bounce a little bit unlucky for them. Osgood going in. Hutchinson. And that time, Green nowhere. Houseman keeping it in. Hutchinson in the middle. Well, he was marked.
Much of what Derby achieved under Clough was down to the strike rate of Hector and to the accuracy of Alan Hinton. His pinpoint crosses were one thing, his powerful shooting was something else.
And a great goal by Hinton. That's the way to pick them out of the blue.
Boxing Day 1970 saw one of the finest games ever played at the baseball ground and one of the most enthralling seen on Match of the Day.
It's Mackay this time. And a goal! 3 minutes play and Manchester United are 1 down. Dave Mackay to take the free kick. Law McFarlane. And another goal scored by Whitnall. Ure into Perrin. And the defenders deciding to come up and joining in an attack. Law to Morgan. Law. And a goal! 10 minutes. Charlton to take the corner. Oh, another fine save. It's a goal. Bester's got it in. Ure is up. So to his Sadler. And it's a goal! Law scored! What an incredible turnaround. It's 3 goals in 4 minutes. This is Gemmell, number 11. Derby beginning to find out what it's like to be all at 6s and 7s. It was Sadler in the way. Luke Setley can play it. Onside, a goal! The equaliser from Hector. 3 goals each, 66 minutes gone. Hennessy to Hector. To Gemmell, number 11, a beautiful ball, a great goal, yes, he's done it. Gemmell. Charlton. Kidd, it's there!
4-4, and Derby County were now firmly established in the nation's Saturday night football culture. In the FA Cup, another 40,000 packed the baseball ground for the visit of Wolves.
And the referee walking towards the spot, and he's pointed to it. He's given it. So Hinton, who can really pack them against Parks. In fact, leaving it for a long one from Mike Bailey. Dugan, good back header, McCallum! Magnificent stop, but it's in! The last man to touch it was Richards! Mackay into the last minute. Derby won at Wolves in the league this season, but it's going to be difficult for them in a cup replay. Hector, 2 in the middle. O'Hare! To go! John O'Hare, and again breasted through.
Oh, you are a bloody disgrace! Hey, Baz, for missing the target from there, you want bloody shooting. Oh, it's crap. Oh, it's bloody rubbish. It's rubbish.
But how do you react, though, when someone, you know, from your playing staff comes in and says, boss, I think you're doing this wrongly?
Good. Well, I ask him which way he thinks it should be done. We get down to it, and then we talk about it for 20 minutes, and then we decide I was right.
First of all, I think we've got more skillful players than you to take corners, and secondly, you're one of the best in the club. Get in there. That's what I pay you for.
Clough's investment was to pay off in 1971-72. Derby embarked on a championship campaign.
Gemmell to McGovern. McGovern waited for it and he hit it just right. Gemmell still close. Hinton with the in-swinger. Hector! Came straight through to him. Stokes, well controlled. Still got McFarlane with him. This is Payne. Gonna take on Robson. Oh, good flick! Good goal! Bobby Stokes, the 20-year-old, put it in there. It was a beautiful play by Terry Payne. O'Neill to Gabriel. For Channon. And it's open. The goal's open. There's Stokes. Pushed away by Todd. It had to be. The goal was wide open. Penalty then. Jimmy Gabriel is the man who's going to take the kick. The score, remember, at this moment is 2-1. Gabriel. 2-2.
With goals guaranteed, the match of the day cameras kept coming to Derby.
Gemmell on the near post. 5 there is McFarlane's coming back to Ray Evans. Gilzine! Off the crossbar and out. Chivers! Go! Hector seems to be finding a bit of room. Again he had a chance for a shot. Todd! Oh, what a goal! McFarlane coming up. Wignall's come to the near post. Gilzine stayed with him. Only Chivers outside the 18-yard box for Tottenham. Gilzine there again, Bolton's clearance. Chivers. Bolton getting through the crowd. It's a goal, and it's been given.
After Spurs, 2 weeks later came defending champions Arsenal.
Graham's header away. Todd, the red line moving forward. That worked for Gemmell, although he didn't mean it. And back again, John Radford with him. O'Hare! Roberts coming forward again. Kennedy, the only Arsenal player in the 6-yard box. Radford coming across the box now. Graham is behind him! Hector! And the referee is giving the penalty. Bob Wilson protesting. The referee looking a little thoughtful and then just pointing casually, almost with the index finger of each hand to the spot. So in the last minute of the half, Bob Wilson to face Alan Hinton. The crowd cheer. Wilson bangs it away in irritation.
Now Derby's title bid was really gathering momentum.
Turned back by O'Hare. Oh, but brought down. Must be a penalty. Brought down by Mellor. 1-0. Back one from Book. Durban. Hinton.
He's got Hector up with him. The others are arriving fast. Webster! Oh, yes! This is O'Hare to Hinton. Durban! 3-0.
Manchester City were one of Derby's championship challengers. So too were Don Reevy's Leeds United, for whom Clough expressed a public distaste. The crunch came at the baseball ground at Easter, in front of the Match of the Day cameras. Leeds in yellow.
Robson. Going to set it up for Durban. O'Hare! Brilliantly taken by John O'Hare. Gemmell's made a lot of ground at the middle. O'Hare's there as well. That's for O'Hare. 2-0, is it? Oh, goal!
The Rams completed their First Division programme by beating Liverpool before another appreciative baseball ground audience. And when Leeds and Liverpool failed to win their final matches, Derby were champions for the first time in their history.
Now, Brian Clough at this moment is on holiday in the Scilly Isles. But last night we got in touch with him and he talked about winning the championship and a little bit too about Brian Clough himself.
It was an unforgettable feeling, and I only wish that, you know, everybody could have shared it with me and everybody in the world. It's an accumulation of things, Peter Taylor and I, plus a successful side, plus the right buys, everything, you know, the chemical reactions happened. And we've produced a side that's won a championship.
For a great deal of the season, Brian, you did insist this was not going to be your championship year, that the side wasn't ready. When did you really believe, deep down inside, that you had a real possibility that it might happen?
Well, David, I know it's an old cliche, but I didn't. I believed it when I heard the news last night that Leeds had lost and Liverpool had drawn. Up until then, I didn't believe that we would win the championship. We thought we had a chance at the beginning of the season. We knew we had a chance midway through the season. We thought we'd got it wrapped up when we'd beaten Leeds. But having been beaten by Newcastle 2 days later, then we thought we'd made a complete mess of it and would let our chances slip. So it died down a little bit. And to have won a championship waiting for 2 results just makes it that much more incredible. Every time I'm with my mum and dad, and I've got them with me in the Scilly Isles now, my mum says to me, why can't you be like Bob Wilson? She says, why can't you be nice and intelligent and calm and collected like Bob and not upset anybody, and Bob doesn't swear and Bob doesn't do that. And, you know, if she's not careful, I shall just renege completely, and my mum will have a new son and they'll call him Bob Wilson Clough.
It was a moment for players and supporters to savour. When the smoke cleared, the achievement of the Brian Clough-Peter Taylor partnership was there to be measured. It was a unique concoction of outspoken simplicity that had the rest of football on the back foot. How it worked remains something of an enigma. Many felt that Taylor found the players and Clough got them to perform. He also found time to become a compelling television personality, initially with the BBC. 5 years after he left Hartlepool's, Clough's team were champions of England.
Robson. Hector! Terry Naylor. Gilzine. Jivers, no flag has been given. Todd had moved up expecting one. Coates, Perryman. And Derby looks stunned. And Steve Perryman gives the captain's answer. Hinton, O'Hare, McGovern. Pearce for Spurs. Caught in trouble. Hector, appeal for offside again, but he wasn't. And a penalty's been given. Hinton against Jennings. contest.
What was a contest for Clough and Derby was the challenge offered by the European Cup. Suddenly, some of the great names in world football were on show at the baseball ground.
Hinton. And it's Hinton going to take the corner. Not a short one this time, but again aimed towards McFarland. Hector, yes! Simosh. Daniel finding Gamble. He's full of football. McFarland. It's Daniel. Loose, McGovern.
Derby stormed through to the semi-final of Europe's premier competition, and everywhere they went, at home or abroad, Kevin Hector carried his bag full of goals.
Hector, and what a gift! Kevin Hector, the scorer. Square ball on for Gemmell. Number 8. Hennessy. 2 against 2 in the box. O'Hare! Off the crossbar and in by Hector. Well, they asked for it, West Ham. They had 2 against 2 in the box, and O'Hare moves so much more quickly than the man marking him. Lampard. Areas change of pace will take him in the gap, and it does. Well, the idea was right. He was looking for Brooking. Well stopped, in fact, by Hennessy. Robson. Off the crossbar, it's in! It's in!
Match of the day was on to a good thing. Derby were box office, and audiences of up to 10 million turned on to watch them.
Davis, O'Hare for the return. And the referee says it was outside. He's given a foul, but he's given it right on the edge of the area. The Derby players asking him to go to the linesman, who may think it should have been a penalty. They certainly wanted the referee to go across. And it looks to me as if he's given a penalty. Now it's the Coventry players' turn to surround the linesman. And this now is a real incident. The referee initially gave Derby a free kick on the edge of the area, but the linesman on the far side was flagging. The Derby players drew his attention to that, and the linesman said it was inside. So Hinton, 1-0. And the Coventry players most incensed about that. Hector. McGovern has found Hinton. Gemmell's going down the left too. Smith across with him. Oh, swapped in by Archie Gemmell.
That season too saw the Rams in yellow shirts stage one of the most dramatic comebacks in the FA Cup. After a 1-1 draw at Derby, they met Spurs in a 4th round replay at White Hart Lane.
Cyril Knowles coming forward, using this left touch line yet again. Chivers making the run in the inside right position. Chivers! Beautifully made goal by Tottenham from start to finish. Chivers with the throw. Gilzean underneath it, it's an enormous throw. Off the crossbar, Bolton a bit late, Gilzean in. Spurs 2 up right on the stroke of half-time. Webster for Derby. Gemmell. Derby pushing forward and playing so well now. Hector, and they've at last got something to show for it. Kevin Hector, the scorer. Knowles with the free kick. Appeal for handball, and the referee has given a penalty. It looked as though the free kick was struck straight against the hand of John McGovern, but a penalty has been given. England against Bolton. 3-1 to Spurs. What will that do to it now? Hector with the corner. Away by England. Gemmell trying to find a way through. O'Hare. McFarland up there, Davis, and he's found the way through it. Great pass, I doubt if Jennings even saw it. 3-2. Webster's throw. O'Hare trying to tee it up. Davis coming on the near post. It's a sweet turn and a fine goal, and justice has seemed to be done. It's extra time at 3 each. Hector with the corner. McFarland is up on the goal line in front of Jennings. Davis is coming in at the back and he scores! Derby in front and a hat-trick for Roger Davis. What a night for him and what a night for the team. Nodded on by Davis, Tottenham looking square, Hector with a chance to make it, finally Shaw, 5-3 to Derby County, and surely one of the finest comebacks of all time in the FA Cup.
It meant a fifth-round tie at home to Queen's Park Rangers. Anything Roger Davis could do, Kevin Hector could match.
Davis gets it again! Well, Hinton's getting an awful lot of corner practice. Nish. Hector, 2-0! Davis got it. Now Hector. Hector showing again what a brilliant finisher he is. They all missed it. Now Davis. Hector. To Davis. Number 4 it is now. Hector's third. And bowls for Queen's Park Rangers. That's Francis. It's dangerous. Leach. Yes. And Queen's Park Rangers have salvaged something. Venables for Queen's Park Rangers. Number 8 is Francis, number 6 Todd, and Francis was winning that all the time. Now they've got players loose. Oh dear, he's done it. Gibbons, and what a mess that Derby defence was in.
But 4-2 to the Rams. It was their old adversaries Leeds United who put Derby out in the 6th round. And in the same month, Reevy's team also won at the baseball ground in the league.
4 on the wall, Giles, Bremner, Hunter and Clark. And this is Durban. He bent it. Not on. Lower. And Bolton has got it at last. And that's a penalty. And it had to be given. Lorimer was floored quite unnecessarily when Bolton had the ball. Three minutes to half-time, it's 1 each, and Peter Lorimer showed his nerve there. It was sheer bedlam. Alan Durban with the kick, McFarland's up. And the ball was over the line anyway. Hunter went down, and what's the referee given? He was pushed, he's given another penalty. Two-two. Madeley. Todd. Oh, Clark, 3-2!
Derby's grip on the league title had slipped, but they still managed a rare victory at Highbury. The scorer here was a young man who made club history in the championship season when he made his senior debut at the age of 16. His father had also been a distinguished Derby player.
Not a very well taken free kick, and Derby have got men over here. Davis to Powell. So simple.
What was not so simple was the chicanery that surrounded Derby's Champions Cup defeat by Juventus in the semi-final. The following season would see the club in turmoil, although things started well enough.
Webster. Davis, McGovern.
John McGovern's goal was enough to beat Chelsea, but in September the exultation turned to consternation when Clough and Taylor sensationally resigned. Match of the day was there.
The drama at Derby started in the streets outside the ground just before the kick-off. There you can see the crowd, about an hour, three-quarters of an hour before the match, bored out. And there you can see the man himself arriving with a very smart haircut. He always has his haircut on Saturday mornings, and he's going to the entrance marked players and officials. I think he was not unexpected at this point, and he goes in through the door. But then you can see, at that point, he stopped going into the private parts of the ground. He took his seat in alongside the director's box, only about 15 yards from the board, but outside the box itself. And there in the stand is Brian Clough. There was a lot of speculation about whether he would get into the ground. He's not in his normal seat, but he is here, and listen to the crowd. The chairman there answering the catcalls of the Derby crowd as the players prepare to kick off. That was Newton, Davis. Nice turn. This is Hinton. Newton's pushed forward as well. There's Davis. Hector! No one seems too sure, but Weller is now taking another free kick from further back, probably wrongly placed. Worthington, and away by Davis. Given back to Leicester by Gemmell. Here's Worthington with a chance. Yes! Well taken, Worthington. But really, Derby have only got themselves to blame. Here's Davis. Hinton. McGovern's on the far post. Oh, my word!
Derby's players were not celebrating off the pitch. They staged their own sit-in protest at the departure of the management team and threatened to strike unless Clough and Taylor were reinstated. Eventually, their anger cooled, and they accepted the appointment of an erstwhile Derby favourite, the Rams' former captain, Dave Mackay. In retrospect, he was arguably the only suitable choice, a born leader who commanded respect on and off the field. Mackay had cut his managerial teeth at Swindon and Nottingham Forest, and although the reaction to Clough's departure meant 6 games without a win, Derby got their first victory under Mackay at Newcastle.
This is Gemmell. McGovern. Davis. And a goal by Roger Davis. Right against the run of the play. But on the break, it's Gemmell for Derby. Taking on Clark. Oh, coming to Hinton. 2-0. And the inevitable has happened.
With a run of only 2 defeats in 19 games, Derby recovered to finish 3rd.
That was Davis. That was Hector. That was McFarland.
An injury sustained playing for England meant Roy McFarland would miss almost the entire 1974-75 season. But Derby, with Mackay's signings, Bruce Rioch here and Francis Lee, both fitting in perfectly, won the championship nonetheless.
Newton, Hector. Lee, Newton, Rioch.
Rioch scored 15 goals from midfield as Derby marched to their 2nd championship in 4 eventful seasons. His deadly shooting made him top scorer in a team that was also back in Europe. In the UEFA Cup, victory on penalties over Atletico Madrid earned the Rams a 3rd round tie against Yugoslav opponents, the first leg at Derby.
That's an awkward ball, well taken by Tom, and then he's done over a chance for Vladic. So Vladic has got a vital away goal in the opening moments of this match. His ball, Bourne, yes! Bourne again. Webster. Hinton. Oh, what a brilliant goal! A superb goal by Alan Hinton! Here's Gemmell. Bourne! Will it go? Yes, it does!
Despite that 3-1 win, Derby lost 4-1 in the second leg. But in the league, they put in a tremendous spurt after Christmas, starting at Main Road, where one man had a match and a moment he would never forget.
There's Davis. Gemmell. Brave header by Newton, who now has a chance. And scores superbly. Marsh. Bell. Nish. Lee. Interesting. Very interesting. Oh! Look at his face! Just look at his face!
Lee's face was one of 6 new ones compared to the championship team of 1972. Without the injured McFarland, there were 5 survivors from 3 years earlier in Mackay's title team.
Brian Clough left a lot of great players here, and they're still here, and I hope they're still enjoying the football. It's a gradual sort of takeover. As players get older, I've got to bring players in, and I can only be judged on bringing in the players. I bring in Bruce Rioch to score goals, which he's doing, Francis Lee to entertain, to score goals, which he's doing.
Lee was a box of tricks on the field, where his experience gained with Manchester City and England proved invaluable to Derby. And off the pitch, he was just as irrepressible. In McFarland's absence, Archie Gemmell captained the victorious Derby side. And a bonus for the Rams and their supporters was a visit to Wembley for the Charity Shield against FA Cup winners West Ham.
George. Hector. That's it! Derby's 5th corner. Making it 5 apiece. Lee. Hector. McFarland the scorer. Mervyn Day hurt by the attempted back click by Hector.
The new flair player in the Derby outfit was Charlie George, and what a night he had in the European Cup against Real Madrid.
Todd. Ball by Bolton in the Real half. Here's David Nish. Gemmell. George! Oh, I say cracker! Applause all around the ground, and my word, he deserved it. That's as good a first-time shot as you'll ever see. And here's Lee. And he's given it the penalty. Lee pushed from behind by Camacho. And the referee right there pointed to the spot. Charlie George with a chance of his second and Derby's. Marvellous start for Derby County. They couldn't have wished for this in their wildest dreams. Sol. Amancio. Piri! Beautifully made goal. Piri, the scorer, current Spanish captain. There's more room on the other side. Father might still use it. Nish. Good try, and he's got it! The goalkeeper's expression summing it up. Gemmell. George. Hector. Yes, says the referee. Netz's tackle on Hector. And Charlie George with a goal that could put Derby County in round 3 of the European Cup. They have a 3-goal advantage from the first leg. And there is a very unhappy man.
But despite George's hat-trick, Derby contrived to lose 5-1 in Madrid and went out on a 6-5 aggregate. In the league, Match of the Day picked another cracker between Derby and Leeds.
Cherry! So, Leeds' start has paid off. They've taken the game to Derby in the first 10 minutes, and that's their reward. It was won by Todd, who's now got through to his right. Number 11 is George. Good effort, and Gemmell has equalised for Derby. Leeds have got 4 back now. And Lee goes down, and a penalty given against Norman Hunter to put Derby County 2-1 ahead. Here's Lee. Good try, and Harvey at full stretch. And a fight going off the ball between Hunter and Lee. The fists were flying, and that's been brewing for quite some time. And still, the Leeds players trying to keep them apart. But quite how much of that the referee saw, I'm not sure. But he's got to take some action. The book obviously out. Norman Hunter's name going in. And the referee is waving the other players away. And Lee is booked also. And I'm wondering if he sent them off, because they're wandering away to the far side of the field. And it looks to me as if it's broken out again. It's broken out again, and now this time a complete free-for-all. Lee and Hunter were walking across to the far side, and it all started all over again. And I'm sure they must have been sent off this time anyway. Gordon Guthrie taking Lee away, and Hunter's going as well. And whether or not they were sent off the first time, they're certainly off the second. So a corner to Leeds, who still trail 2-1. Here's Bremner. Gray, McKenzie, 2 each. Davis. It's a good run by Davis, and what a superb goal! From the end.
In the FA Cup, Derby beat Everton and Liverpool. They were at home again in the quarter-final.
George, good ball, way up, 1-0. Through the lot, 2-0. Broke for Garling, 2-1. Just what Newcastle needed. McDonald, they've got good distance. Newton. Yes! George, good back header. Hector. George again. Marvelous play. 4-1. That's Hudson. To Burns. MacDonald. Barraclough. Cassidy. Yes, Garling. His second. Newcastle second. 4-2.
That put Derby through to the semi-final against Manchester United at Hillsborough. But dreams of the Rams' first FA Cup final for 30 years were dashed by a man who would later play for Derby.
Hill trying to count it, and does! Gordon Hill! A contrast between the two ends of the ground. Total noise from behind Graham Mosley's goal. And Hill, it was deflected! And that surely ties it up. second goal.
On reflection, that goal was the beginning of the end for Dave Mackay as Derby manager. Although they finished fourth in the league, he was dismissed the following November. By the time the FA Cup came round again, Colin Murphy was in charge.
Hale's putting Sotheby under pressure, and he gets his first goal for Derby. Awkward bounce for the defenders, and here comes Hales again. That was a remarkable chance for James, though, and it's 2-0. Bolton coming and not really making it, and Rod Thomas doing some important blocking. Archie Gemmell. James again. Oh, it's come back off the goalkeeper, and Charlie George scores what for him may have looked a simple goal, but it's all about following them in. Oh, and that was a very fine header indeed.
When the Match of the Day cameras returned to Derby in April, the Rams were fighting for their First Division lives. This match saw the groundsman Bob Smith play an unexpected part on the pitch.
The bounce favoured Derby. Here's Daly. On by Hector. Daly goes for the return. Gemmell is there! Away by Watson. Back by Powell. This is Langan. And Daniel was there! So finally, Gemmell will take a free kick for Derby. Don't forget, with 4 players caution, nobody can offend again or else they're off. Daly! And Hector is there! Well, Derby must fancy their chances of extending the lead still further. Totally on top. And a man in hand as well, of course. Here's Gemmell. Oh! Brought down, was he? Yes, by Gary Owen. Penalty. And Joe Corrigan now remonstrating with the referee. And Corrigan is pacing out the 12 yards. And here comes the pot of paint. And this is extraordinary. We're going to see the penalty spot painted, are we, during the match? There are only 4 minutes to go. Jerry Daly is waiting to score what he hopes will be the 4th goal, but before he can take the penalty, here's the tape measure, and here's the pot of paint. And the referee says that the ball was correctly placed. Well, this is extraordinary. Certainly some football history being made here. I'm sure the penalty spot has never been painted during a First Division match before. Well, who's been unsettled by that, Daly or Corrigan? Number 4 from the number 4.
Although Derby survived in the First Division, Murphy didn't survive long as manager. Tommy Docherty took over. One of his first games in charge was at Newcastle, Derby in red.
Daly. George, Powell this is, now George. And a chance here for Hughes. Here's Nish. He loves to do that, go through and try and beat the offside trap. In fact, they have beaten it here. This is Ryan. He's got Daly on the far post. McFarlane got in there.
McFarlane was still a stalwart figure, but Docherty turned the rest of the team inside out in his 20 months in charge.
Hughes, another little flick. Hector going in. Saved by Cleland. Here's Daly. 1-0 surely, yes. Jerry Daly finished up in the photographers, but the ball finished up over the line. Hector. Langan. Hughes!
The following season, Derby once more faced the spectre of relegation, but again a home win in front of the Match of the Day viewers proved a lifeline. Jerry Daly again responding to the cameras.
Here's Vic Morland. Nice ball, Daly. Greenwood, and Daly's through here on the return. Jennings right out. Oh, Jerry Daly. Steve Buckley. Oh, it's gone in, Steve Buckley. 2-0 to Derby, and Jennings makes an uncharacteristic mistake.
But the following season, Derby were relegated, despite beating neighbours Nottingham Forest. Jerry Daly put Derby ahead after 13 minutes, a mistake by Peter Shilton.
That mistake must have been a big enough shock for the European champions, but they could never have imagined that within the next 5 minutes they would be 3 down. Derby's second goal, in fact, made a mockery of their poor league standing. After the ball had flashed across the face of the goal once, the Forest defenders were left chasing shadows as Colin Addison's team strung together some swift passes. And when David Langan crossed from the right, Peter Shilton's parry fell nicely to the head of John Duncan. 2-0 then to Derby, and almost immediately it was 3 as Steve Emery took advantage of an error by Frankie Gray. Forest got a slight boost at the start of the second half when Daly tripped Gary Mills in the box. The referee had no hesitation in awarding a penalty, and John Robertson drove the ball to the keeper's right to make it 3-1. And that's how it stayed until John Duncan scored a fourth for Derby 13 minutes from the end.
But despite that victory, the 80s started with Roy McFarland in his 14th season with the Rams, the club back in the second division, and Kevin Hector back at the baseball ground with another Kevin with a scoring touch.
Oh, I say, what a fantastic goal by Kevin Wilson. Steen, West. Hill trying to return it to Steen. Ingram's come near post. McFarland didn't make it, deflects, it's got in. Moss's shot, deflected past the goalkeeper. Oh, given away by Keith Osgood, and it could be, oh. It's Ingram through the centre, and a chance here for Luton. It's Godfrey Ingram, and it's 2-1. Here's Emery. And now it's Barry Powell. And Barry Powell again. Wiley. Hector far post. It's there.
Neither Colin Addison nor John Newman had the resources to build a promotion team, and in the 1982-83 season, the Rams turned back to an old favourite, Peter Taylor, now divorced from Brian Clough. The FA Cup 5th round against Manchester United.
But now Koffel, right side, far side. This is the best chance of the match, and it's made to count.
A year later, Derby reached the quarter-final, while facing a winding-up petition in the High Court. It was crisis time at the baseball ground.
Uzel is on the near post, comes away, and Cherry in trouble! It's straight in! Straight in! Rogers the scorer.
Derby County avoided liquidation, but not relegation to the 3rd division, whereupon Arthur Cox became manager.
It's Bobby Davison for Derby. It's a goal. He's marked his return with his 19th goal of the season in the 23rd minute. And nearly was it? It is in, yes. Of Trevor Christie.
Derby won promotion from the 3rd division in that 1985-86 season, and a year later the baseball ground was buzzing again as Arthur Cox's team launched an immediate bid to return to Division 1. Once again, the goals of Bobby Davison were an integral part of Derby's promotion package. He scored 19 in the league alone and struck up a profitable partnership with Phil G. In this match against Blackburn Rovers, the Rams were helped on their way by a bizarre own goal by the Blackburn defender Glenn Keeley, which put them into a 2-0 lead. Cox and his assistant McFarland had rebuilt the Derby team on a tight budget. The Maxwell family now owned the club, but the goals of G and Davison here meant the Rams won the second division championship by a margin of 6 points. Derby were back in Division 1 and Cox quickly signed Southampton's England pair Mark Wright and Peter Shilton. The Rams' first away game was at Queen's Park Rangers, where G opened the scoring in fine style. But Derby were to find the first division hard going just 2 years after coming out of the third. Mistakes here were punished heavily, with Gary Bannister equalising for Queen's Park Rangers. Lack of goals at the other end meant Derby won only 10 league games and finished 15th in their first season back in the top flight. One of those victories came against Coventry at the baseball ground, a game in which Andy Garner became the only Derby player to score 2 goals in a match in the 1987-88 season. In fact, the whole team managed only 35 in the league. Chairman Robert Maxwell chose the day the Match of the Day cameras came to the baseball ground to have his picture taken with the team. The occasion was a league match against Chelsea, which the BBC covered live. Derby were once again the focus of national attention, with their 2 expensive England men, centre-half and captain Wright and evergreen keeper Shilton, at the heart of a winning performance.
G. McLaren. Garner's there. Cross! A goal to Derby by Steve Cross. And in the end, when it came, it was so simple. Ross McLaren hoofed the ball in. Andy Garner got up to win his header. Steve Cross was unmarked, but he did well to adjust his position. In the end, it was an acrobatic finish by the Derby number 11. Steve Clark's left with 2 to mark there, but a flying header by Cross to beat Freestone. And that's Gregory and Cross. And here's Williams. Gregory! What a spectacular goal! John Gregory. That was worth coming to see. It took the goalkeeper totally by surprise. And as the cross came in, Gregory just swung himself through the air, and if that had been scored by a Brazilian, they'd be showing it all over the world.
Later that season, Liverpool brought their 28-match unbeaten run to the baseball ground.
Johnston. And... oh, off the line! Johnston, goal! Craig Johnston put it away. Forsyth. And again, good run by Michael Forsyth. Brilliant run. Micklewhite's there, and a chance here. Forsyth came in, and it's the equaliser for Derby County.
By now, Match of the Day was concentrating on the FA Cup, and when Peter Shilton brought down Rodney Wallace in the third round against Southampton, Derek Statham scored from the penalty. But Derby equalised when Nigel Callaghan's cross was headed in by Trevor Hebbard. That meant a replay at the Dell, where Derby, in blue shirts this time, took the lead through Scotsman Ted McMinn, signed from Seville in Spain. Back came Southampton to equalise against their former keeper Shilton. Forrest's shot deflected off the unlucky Forsyth. The match went into extra time, but then Callaghan struck a sweet shot for Derby's winner. His old club Watford provided the opposition in round 4, and they scored first, a scrambled effort from Rick Holden. Watford led at half-time, but in the second half, the Rams equalised. Rob Hindmarch hit the post, and substitute Gary Micklewhite scrambled in the rebound. This was Derby's best season in the First Division since the Dave Mackay days. They finished 5th, but they lost this cup tie when Neil Redfern curled his free kick over the wall beyond Shilton. The following season brought a new decade, the 90s, but again, no luck in the cup. In a third-round replay against Port Vale of the Second Division, an own goal by Hindmarch put Derby behind. But his challenge in the opposing penalty area was part of a move which led to Derby's equaliser, struck by Craig Ramage. Dean Saunders, briefly in the picture there, was now Derby's leading marksman. But it was Port Vale who scored next. Ray Walker restored their lead from close range. The crowd of 21,000 was seeing an exciting second half, but it wasn't going Derby's way. Port Vale left-back Darren Hughes ran from one penalty area to the other before crossing to the far post, where Nicky Cross scored Port Vale's third goal. Derby staged something of a comeback, but a goal by their substitute, Kevin Francis, couldn't save them. And the following season, Derby went down. The Maxwell era passed, and there was a new look about the Derby team of 1992. It was a Derby boy, 17-year-old Mark Stallard, who crossed for Martin Chalk to put the Rams ahead in the FA Cup third round at Turf Moor. Both were playing in their first FA Cup tie. Burnley, now in the 4th division and hoping to recapture their glory days, was soon back on terms. Even Shilton, in his 43rd year, couldn't stop Steve Harper equalising. But under Arthur Cox and Roy McFarland, Derby's spirit was never allowed to die, and Andy Comyn put them back in front in the second half. A late Burnley equaliser here meant a replay before Derby went through to meet Aston Villa in the 4th round. But the Rams' priority in 1992 was promotion back to the top grade. The financial brakes at last came off, and Derby fans believed better times were ahead. One thing's for sure, Derby County have been an integral part of the entertainment on Match of the Day.